Well, hi there. It's Johnny K with Rock 96.7. We got a special guest with us right now. He'll be at the Bloomington Center of Performing Arts this Sunday, the 13th. It's Dan St. Paul. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Let's dive right into this interview. So you're coming in this Sunday for the What's Funny After 50 tour. Without giving away your show, talk a little bit about kind of the inspiration as far as grabbing this concept and taking it on the road with you.
Well, most of my career has been about just talking about my life. And as I've gotten older, so is my subject matter. Mm-hmm. and so you do the clubs when you're a young guy, and you talk about dating and blah, blah, blah. Then you get in your 30s, your 40s, you're married, talk about kids. And now I'm in my 60s. And so now the stuff that I talk about isn't really relatable to those kids who are in the clubs. I'm searching for my audience. So that's who I'm going for, and I'm talking more about stuff like, when I tell somebody that, when I tell a 22-year-old that my memory and my hearing are going at the same time, my vision are going at the same time, that I have 8 pair of reading glasses at home, and that I have no idea where they are.
Yeah.
They don't really relate. When I tell them I took my dog for a walk, he pooped twice, and I was jealous. They have no idea why that's funny.
Yeah.
So,
all right, yeah. So
that's kind of like the thing. And I thought that in order, as we all get older, sometimes it's dispiriting. Sometimes, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or this is happening to me and I have no control over it. And I thought these are kind of alarming things that happen to people, and someone should make fun of them so they'll feel better about themselves. And so that's my mission right now.
I like that mission a lot. Sounds good to me. I mean, yeah, you got to give life a little bit of a twist on it if we're gonna make it through. So I like where you're coming from.
And like for example, I usually shave when I perform, and I tell the audience that I shaved because when you don't shave for a few days and you're like 34, you look cool. But when you don't shave for a few days and you're 64, you look like a registered sex offender, basically.
Yeah.
And so there's things like that can be funny, even though they can be somewhat disappointing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you answered some of your question. I was going to ask kind of how you've been on the road now for over 30 years, and I was just as far as the changes you've made in your comedy. Obviously, the content has changed as you've progressed through life, but any sort of other changes, maybe in either delivery or any other notable changes over your career that you could mention?
I would say that I'm probably not. I probably rely more on the word than I do the motion. I mean, I used to be a lot more physical in my act. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly that physical, but when I do use physicality, it's more effective. I would say that I can't do 3 shows a night, only 2.
Okay. Yeah.
If that many. And I think I've pretty much remained the same guy stylistically. As you get better, you learn how to write better. Mm-hmm. You learn how to relate better to an audience. You learn how to show more of yourself. You become more honest on stage. I think I've done a lot more of that.
Sure.
I have one segment in the show where I talk about the fact that I'm vain, but I've also been clinically depressed before, and when I get depressed, I lose weight. I don't eat, and I remember one morning looking at myself in the mirror after having lost 15 pounds, and saying to myself, I feel like I want to kill myself, but I just look too damn good right now.
Yeah, I mean, well.
So you learn to open up and not worry about what you say. And reveal. I think it makes a lot more of an interesting show when you're so much more self-revelatory in a theater. In a comedy club, maybe not so much, but in a theater where people are used to seeing, comedy and drama and music and whatnot, it's more accepted. So So the show itself isn't just me talking. There's 140 slides from different parts of my life and things that pick out, that accentuate what I'm talking about. And a little bit of music too. I don't sing, God forbid. But yeah, it's more of a theatrical show than it is just a regular stand-up show.
Well, yeah, I for one can appreciate someone who is definitely honest with themselves and where they're at mentally and physically. To me, that's a little more believable rather than someone who just kind of comes across as somebody who claims to have all the answers, or it just seems like nothing's wrong with what they're doing. If you can kind of punch at yourself a little bit, I mean, I personally am more inclined to listen to somebody who can take jabs at themselves, but also just be entertaining all around.
Right. I mean, to be somewhat vulnerable, on stage, I think it helps.
It's definitely more believable, so
yeah,
liking what I'm hearing.
Oh, good. Well, there's, I'll be talking about a lot of things, and I won't be doing Harry Carey. So,
not even after the World Series for the Cubbies.
But if anybody, well, maybe as an encore.
Yeah.
If they give me an encore, I'll rush out and I'll do a little Harry. I was just thinking about the fact that if Harry was around, he'd have been great because he'd have been talking about that incredible double play combination. Tinkers to Evers to Chance, one of the great double play combos in Cub history. But look at this group here. You got Russell to Baez to Rizzo, an African American to a Latin American to a WAP. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? I think maybe that might be his take on it right there. I can say WAP because I'm Italian.
Yeah, hard to completely grasp what Harry Carey. You may never know what he's fully thinking, but I mean, I think you're in the ballpark there, pun intended, with the ballpark. But you just mentioned Italian a little bit, and noticed that at least according to your bio, you've got a bachelor's in Italian and master's in special ed. Do you incorporate any of that into your show?
Well, I have to tell people that my real last name is Scopazzi, Scopazzi, and I'm not allowed to use it professionally because scopare in Italian slang means to go out and pick up on women, and pazzi means crazy. So literally, my name translates into Charlie Sheen.
Oh,
so there's just no way ethically that I'm allowed to do that. My mom, I'm the son of immigrants. My mom is still around. She's 88, and I see her every Wednesday. We go out for lunch, and we always go to the same restaurant because on Wednesdays kids eat free, and she's the best. I'm lucky to be to have that upbringing. I like. My grandmother was the funniest person I ever. My grandmother would always talk in proverbs. Like we saw this woman at a mall she had like a lot of makeup and a really short skirt. She was kind of loose looking, and my grandmother whispers in my ear, "Gonne corte, confessione lunga," which means the shorter the skirt, the longer the confession. That she always had stuff like that. She was great. My dad was one of these guys who never really got the language down. He worked as a waiter all his life in San Francisco, but if I try to correct him, he'd make me feel stupid. Like I'm with him one night and he goes, "Oh, Danny, I'm tired. I'm going to go in bed now." And I tell him, "No, Dad, you don't say in bed. You say I'm going to go to bed." He went, "Hey, I'm not going to go stand next to the bed. I'm going to get inside. If I'm just going to stand next to the bed, you wouldn't even be here right now." That's my dad.
Well, yeah, I mean, taking our own phrases and kind of turning them on ourselves. It's
That's right.
Clever man.
That's right. It's that whole everything's literal. It's like I'm tired. I'm going to go in bed. You close the light. There you go.
Nice. So and yeah, just another kind of little follow up. So obviously, with your background of education, was comedy the original plan for you, or how did you stumble into it?
I taught for a couple of years. I was a special ed teacher for a couple of years. I went one summer after my second year of teaching to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and I just kind of fell in love with what was happening on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and I really wasn't feeling fulfilled as a teacher, and I had to admit to myself I was not a great teacher. I loved my kids, but I was totally disorganized, which you really have to be as a teacher. It's super organized, and I was not that kind of guy. So I quit, and I started acting. I met a partner, and we became a team. And then after 6.5 years, we split up, and I ended up solo, and that's where I was. I've always loved comedians. I always, when I was a teenager, I'd go see Steve Martin and Robert Klein or whoever was in town, and I always watched Ed Sullivan and waited for the comedians to come on. So I was always a fan. I never thought that I'd actually end up doing it for a living, but I'm really happy I did.
Yeah, it sounds like you've found your calling and found what you really wanted to do in life. So good news there. And
yeah.
So one more thing I wanted to ask you before I let you go. So just looking at the list of different clients and different people you've worked for, and people kind of commend you for going a little above and beyond. You'll kind of tailor make your shows based on the event, based on the business you're doing a show for. Kind of talk a little bit about how you prep, and for, say, going to a show for the Blue Cross and just happening to know so much about specifics about the Blue Cross that you kind of incorporate in your show and impresses people. Kind of talk about your preparation for that.
Well, I pride myself in able to write material for specific events. So usually I'll send them a questionnaire with about 8 questions, and they'll send me back the answers, and I can use those answers to incorporate material with. I'll just kind of come up with stuff, For example, I live in a high-tech community around here in San Francisco, and so, I'll tell them if I'm working for a company that makes specific databases, I'll say I live in Foster City. It's part of Silicon Valley. I think it is anyway, because my neighbor has a 4-year-old daughter with a lemonade stand that has a web-based customer relations management software solution.
Wow.
They know what that is. They get that. And I'll a lot of the time, especially in tech, there's lots of acronyms, so I'll work those in. Sometimes they'll give me stuff about people in the organization that everybody knows something about, and I can work that in as well. Sometimes they'll hire me as an imposter, and I will go up there with a whole script about who I am and what I've done and blah, 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 and then finally, break the facade and start doing my act. And so there's lots of different ways, you can work with companies and trade shows as well, being the guy on the floor, being the guy who's giving out the message, but with a comic twist to it. There's a lot of work out there in the comedy field. It's not just comedy clubs.
Mm-hmm. Well, you heard it here. It's going to be more than just simple stand-up. You're never going to be sure what kind of theatrical performance that's going to go on. He's coming to the Bloomington Center of Performing Arts, like I said, Sunday. That's going to be this 13th. Dan, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for taking my call and taking the time out of your day to chat with me.
Thank you.